We do have a special guest with us here today, and this name, if you're around our neck of the woods in East Texas, you know who Tristan Lundy is. But we're bringing Tristan on this morning. Tristan's got some exciting things happening, and he is a great source, we have learned, for all things East Texas High School. And so Tristan has joined us this morning to talk for a few minutes about some things going on that he's involved with, as well as give us help us have a little bit of a rundown where we stand in our local baseball and softball and some local players to watch. But welcome to the podcast, Tristan.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all for having me. Of course, y'all been doing this show or this podcast for a few months now. And whenever y'all first started it, I thought it was the coolest thing for our area to have an outlet, more media to cover these kids and to talk about all the great things going on here in East Texas. So I'm thankful that y'all had me on.
Well, Matt and I, we do the best we can. I know he's a little bit more plugged in than even I am with his work that he does at the station and with you. And I'll be honest, I'm a little selfish. I wanted to get you on here because I knew you did all the legwork, and so just kind of wanted to pick your brain a little bit and again give some more recognition again to these outstanding student athletes that we have in our area. I did want to talk first here and get started here with you. Just kind of tell us a little bit about your history and your background. We always like to do that with our guests here. And you have recently launched a new, a recruiting kind of thing that you're doing here as a service. Kind of talk about what your life is like right now and what all led you to that.
Yeah, so here recently I did announce a recruiting service platform, Tristan Lundy Recruiting Services. And so what that is for a lot of athletes in our area, and y'all know this, I was actually just talking to Matt about this the other day. There's a lot of kids in this area. Now, there's been a lot of kids get recruited and go play at the next level, but there's been even more that's been overlooked, not shown the love that maybe they deserve, and whether that was due to their film not being seen just because we're in a small area, maybe the school doesn't have the availability to send out all of the film like maybe these Duncanvilles and North Crowleys up in Dallas. It's just a different environment. Schools have different sets of monies that they're able to use for certain departments, but some schools just don't have the resources for it either. And a lot of these parents, they get confused when they get to the recruiting process because it's honestly, it's a sales process. You're getting sold by everybody trying to get your kid to go to that school, and it gets really messy. And that's not just in football. It's the most popular, but it's in every single sport. And here recently, it's actually been even crazier in basketball. It seems like basketball is really starting to kind of explode in kind of the crazy recruiting scene. But it's really just a help these kids get more exposure and also help these parents and help these families guide them through the recruiting process. But as I told Matt, nothing is ever guaranteed an offer. Nothing is ever guaranteed an opportunity. But one thing I can guarantee is that you're going to get seen by a lot of people, and not just people, but important people, as in coaches and former players, etc.
And what kind of goes into that as far as the services you offer? I think you say exposure. Obviously, you're very active on Facebook. That's the most notable thing. But what are some other things that you can offer through this service that you've started?
So all of the things will be posted on Facebook and Twitter. Both get 1 million views a month. So 2 million views there of that exposure. Now, what I've been able to do is talk about, creating highlight films, putting that out on my page as well. State ranked. If y'all can see recently, I do cover Elysian Fields pretty intensely just because of the support there. And of course, with it being a recruiting service, these families have to take advantage of the opportunity to, get this exposure. And Elysian Fields, they are really supporting. You can see that if you have a pitcher that's state ranked, I know Don Beavers is top ranked in the state in strikeouts right now in 2A. I made a post about that. And so what that will do is that will get posted on both social media platforms. And then I'm also working on a website, which that is a whole nother nightmare. I'm going to be completely honest with y'all. That is a crazy thing to do, creating a website, but I'm working on it. And what that will do is give the coaches, parents, and everything a place where they can go look at the profile of the athlete, the grade, the height, the weight, and then all of the posts that I make on that said athlete will be under their profile on the website as well. So coaches will be able to go through, scroll down, and see accolades, highlights, and all of the good things like that, as well as contact information for the parents.
Man, that's really cool, Tristan. I'm excited for you. I know that's a passion of yours, and you were talking with me the other day. You've actually got already some connections at some high levels that can help this speed this along. Talk about some of your other connections there.
Yeah, so over the last 3 years, that's kind of how I got started with it, just being really lucky. I told you that the other day. Just it really is really lucky, but kind of an interesting story. So one of my good buddies, Hayes Fawcett, he's the recruiting reporter for On3 and Rivals, and kind of started the whole making graphics for high school athletes when they commit to a college years ago, back when Trevor Lawrence and everybody was coming out of high school. So he kind of showed me the way of kind of doing things. But I actually, a lot of people will know this name, Terry Bussey from Timpson. He was being recruited at Texas A&M rather intensely, a #1 athlete in the nation. And me and him had a good relationship at the time. And he asked me to do a graphic for him. Him in Texas A&M gear. It was like, what if he committed, right? And I said, okay, well, that sounds fun. It'll get good engagement and it'll be good for my page. Well, that was not always the case. I made the graphic and put committed on it, and fans were not very happy about that because they thought that Terry Bussey committed to A&M. Well, that was not the case. And, well, that's how I actually met Hayes Fawcett, because he reached out to me and was like, hey, look, if you do it like this and say it like this, this is actually a way that you can go about it. So it was actually a big learning experience at the very beginning. And it's weird how God works, because a negative actually turned into a huge positive. And actually, that's how it worked out to me being here. So through all of that, meeting all of these former athletes, reporters, coaches, and all of that, it really has just been the pros of social media and everything just working out, and just not being afraid to reach out and ask a question.
Yeah.
And that's something that me as an old newspaper guy struggles with, is trying to kind of re-enter the world of sports journalism locally. And the game has changed completely. It's not about, I hate to say this because it's going to sound very sacrilegious for people who know me. It's really not about necessarily the writing anymore. It's about the exposure. It's
I hate that. I hate that as well, because for someone that loves to tell a story and to love to hear a good story, that stuff is always going to be necessary, because there's so many good stories to tell. And to be honest with you, I can barely keep up with just doing all the final score graphics, much less writing a story for every individual person. So I feel like it goes hand in hand, and kind of two separate things in a way, because those stories are very, very important to be told. Very.
Yeah, and you mentioned the graphics and the video. All of that goes into coverage now that, 30 years ago when I was sports editor at the Marshall News Messenger, your #1 goal was filling a page.
Right.
with copy, right? And maybe a few photos. Now you got videos, you got graphics, you got hyperlinks that you do with everything you write. You're trying to tag people to get the most exposure on social media. And there's so many platforms out there that you don't want to miss any one of them. So the game has changed significantly to do what we do. And to be honest with you, I struggled and prayed for several months on starting this podcast, because again, my strength is not speaking in front of a microphone, as our listeners probably can attest at this point. But you have to do that to get your message out and to tell the story that you want to tell. And so when I started my business, of course, our motto is we tell your story. Well, I'm not doing my job effectively if I just lean on, well, I can just write you a press release and that'll be it, right? We have to find other ways to grow. And so you doing what you do is kind of an inspiration and an eye-opening thing. It's like, hey, okay, this is another something that is available, and Tristan's got it going right. And so, but again, as I said, kind of at the start, you work smarter and you're not harder, and you make these contacts and you work off of each other, and you know, and so in that note, I mean, I know you have been pounding the pavement. You've got these contacts, and you know a lot more. I know that I know Matt again is more plugged in than I am with the local scene. What are some things that have surprised you, or some things that you're looking forward to as the spring season plays out now? I know we've been focused, Matt, and you know this. I mean, we've been talking about college basketball for 2 months, really. I mean that's kind of been our focus. And in doing so, when you try to mix in as much as going on baseball and softball, it's just kind of hard to do it all at once. But Tristan, what have you been seeing out there on the fields, and maybe some names for us to watch as we move forward into the latter part of this season?
Well, I don't know about y'all. I don't know about y'all, but going into the season, you know, you have a lot of expectations, maybe, I don't know, predictions, I guess you could say. And for me, I feel like none of them have really came true. I feel like everything has kind of been a little bit more, it's been similar in some ways, but in the baseball side of things, I mean, Harleton fell their first game last night versus Beckville. I was kind of thinking that they probably would drop one of those games just because of how baseball is. And Beckville's a really competitive team. I watched them play Elysian Fields in Elysian Fields one night and went to extra innings and was just a really good game. But that district specifically, I'm really interested to see how that plays out, because I don't want to date this podcast, but next week, Harleton's going to be taking on Elysian Fields, and that is going to be a huge matchup here in East Texas. And anyone out there listening, I would highly advise you to go out there and watch those games in Harleton or Elysian Fields next week, because that's going to be some really good baseball. And to be honest, me being from Wascom, you don't have too many years, two teams being this talented in the same district, going down to the wire, playing at the end. Sadly, in baseball, it just doesn't happen that much around our area, especially in the 2A district. But man, they are flowing this year.
Well, and Tristan, that district, I mean, it's so deep. I had Coach Beck on my show this morning. I mean, you look at Elysian Fields, they're sweating out a win over Carlisle last night.
I know.
You know, I mean, it is a very, very deep district. You know, I'm not, you may be more familiar than I am with the standings, but obviously Harleton, EF, and Beckville look to be the top three kind of locked in, but there's a lot of, you know, clawing and fighting for that last playoff spot. This district has been competitive pretty much in every sport, but we saw it last night with Beckville. We saw it with Carlisle pushing EF to the limit. This is going to be a good couple of weeks to watch baseball in that district.
Well, you know, I'm curious too, because I don't know how it works in the district with tiebreakers, etc. But Elysian Fields dropped a game to Union Grove. They swept Beckville. Harleton already has swept Union Grove, but then they dropped a game to Beckville. So then I'm assuming that's just a tie at first, right, with Harleton and Elysian Fields. Is that right? I guess they're
right now they're tied, and the tiebreaker can't really come into play because they haven't played yet.
Yeah, until next week. Well,
yeah.
That's going to work out really good. Now, I guess I'm thinking too far ahead. Harleton still has another one with Beckville in Beckville on Friday. So that's going to be one that Harleton now really has to pick up, especially playing Elysian Fields next week.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm trying to pull up the 5A standings here. I'm a little bit more familiar as far as following the 5A standings, but
I'll tell you, 5A Marshall got a huge win last night. Isn't that right? Marshall baseball, 16-0.
They did.
They may be the hottest team in the district, right, Matt? I mean,
yeah,
the Lady Cats started out with a couple of really tough losses. We talked about that at the beginning of the season, but man, here the last couple of weeks, they've literally found their stride.
Yeah. Well, and jumping to Marshall softball, yeah, it's 4 in a row. They actually got a little bit of bad news last night. They got good news in that White House beat Lufkin, which bumps Lufkin down into a tie with Marshall. But David, you may know this. I don't know. Mount Pleasant surprised Hallsville last night and beat them 5-4 in 8 innings.
Really?
And we were expecting Hallsville to win that game. That would bump Mount Pleasant down into a tie as well. Well, Mount Pleasant had other ideas. They got that win. The Lufkin White House game, White House won that one 17-12. I mean, this is a wild district right now. I believe right now, Lufkin and Marshall are tied for 5th, 1 game behind T High and Mount Pleasant, who are in an essential tie for 3rd. I think, there's weird buys in there because Tyler didn't have a varsity team. But I mean, anybody can beat anybody in that district. I mean, Marshall and Hallsville are about to play Friday. When they met the first time, that game went 9 innings, 3-2. So it's going to be really interesting. You got 6 bona fide playoff teams in that district. Only 4 of them can go.
And it's a weird deal here when you look at the standings. Hallsville against teams not named Mount Pleasant is 9-0. I mean, they've lost both games to Mount Pleasant. And go figure that one out. I mean, we talked about predicting at the beginning of the season. No one would predict something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Marshall is definitely on the rise in the standings, and still, I mean, as we sit here today, technically on the outside looking in terms of playoff positioning. So still a lot of softball left to be played, baseball left to be played. I was looking at the boys side in the 5A ranks. Mount Pleasant is a little bit surprising to me in that they just continue to be so dominant. I mean, they got a 2-game lead in baseball.
Yeah, Mount Pleasant's
in a pretty tough
impressive.
district.
Mount Pleasant's pretty impressive. They have one pitcher that pitched when I was there, and I'm pretty sure through 4 innings he struck out. Well, I don't want to do my math wrong here, but it was like 10 or 11 through like 4 innings. I mean, he struck out almost every single batter. That kid is incredible, and I cannot remember his name right now for the life of me, but if he's out there listening, he knows who he is. He is impressive.
Well, maybe Cortland Stovall or
Stovall.
He's a Texas State commit. Yeah,
maybe him.
They got a kid going to Bama too, right?
Looking on their list here.
What's his name? Dax Price.
That's who it was. Dax.
Yeah.
That's who it was.
He's actually just a sophomore.
What? Oh wow. Oh
Dax Price is just a sophomore.
Well, that's
according to the material I have. Yeah, they have a Texarkana A&M commit, and then of course the Stovall kid's going to Texas State. Every few years, Mount Pleasant will have a bona fide stud. I remember back in the day when my son was playing at a Hallsville, and of course they had one Michael Kopech, who now is, my gosh, I think he's with the Dodgers now. But I mean, the kid throwing 100 in high school. They literally rode him into the 3rd round of the playoffs his senior year. He was it, but he took him 3 rounds deep. So yeah. But yeah, so yeah, man, that's some good stuff. And see, that's the kind of thing, Tristan, that you just kind of sparked the discussion for us, right? And Matt and I just sit here and enjoy it. That's great. I love that. Let the young guys do all the work, Pastor.
That's right, for sure. I'll tell you, Tristan's locked in with a lot of those coaches on their apps to follow scores. So a lot of times when I'm giving my nightly report, I just hop on Tristan's Facebook page and see what he's posted. And if he hadn't updated it fast enough and I'm ready to go to bed, I just text him and I'm like, give me the scores.
I'll tell you, and this is no joke. I subscribe to the Longview News Journal. I read Jack Stallard's sports section every day. So Jack, if you're out there listening, I'm your guy. I'm still following you, brother. And then I read Tristan's page on Facebook, because between those two, we get all we need to know in terms of what's going on in sports around here. And then you and I get to talk about it the following day, right? I mean, that's just the way things work. But before Tristan's fixing to have to leave us here again, of all things, he's got a phone call he's got to get on. So we want to make sure he gets to that interview. But I did have this little thing I wanted to just kind of run by you guys, and we do love sports, and we pride ourselves on talking about local sports as much as we can. What is the best thing about being a sports fan here where we are in East Texas? Now, I know, Tristan, you and I have been born and raised in the area. Matt, got here by choice, right? Or let's just say the Lord led him here by choice, right? Literally. What about being, what makes it so great to be at our ball fields watching our kids play these sports around us? Are we lucky or what? What in your opinion makes it so good?
Well, I can tell you from my perspective for sure. I mean, you go basically to any ball field within 30 minutes and you're going to see people that kids that you grew up with, whether it's from, maybe your old buddy's cousin or something along those lines. You have some type of relationship, and it's just the really has nothing to do with the actual game that you're watching. It's all of the great people that are around our area, the conversations that you get to have. I mean, at Marshall, you go down, you got just the folks down there in the concession stand. You got the same fans. It's been there for years. It's just the routine, the vibes that are at all of the fields around here. It feels like family, whether you're from here or not. But whenever you get to the ball fields, it's always a family-like atmosphere. And really, the coaches and everyone makes the fans feel like that. From the ones that have kids and to the ones that don't, it's always a good time out here in East Texas, whether you're watching football, volleyball, softball, baseball. It truly doesn't matter. It's about the people that you're with, and we definitely got some good people here in East Texas.
Partner, what do you think about it? I know you're a little bit of a transplant, but you've been here long enough now to say this is home. But
Yeah,
what about it attracts you?
I'm not going to disagree with any of that. I love the people in all the small towns I've gotten to go to, but I'll take a different angle. I think people would probably be surprised to see some of the facilities we have in East Texas.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter the sport. I love going to the Tomato Bowl.
Yes.
That if you've lived in East
Now,
Texas a long
you love
time,
going now. I mean, it needed some renovation, and they got it right.
Yes. But even the first time I went before the renovation, don't get me wrong, it was like I felt like I'd gone back in time, and in some ways not in a good way. But it's right on the main drag right there. Like Tristan can vouch for it. A couple of years ago, we were at a playoff game, and him and Jacob Bumpus, who was working at the time, were hungry. And I was like, guys, I'm free for a while. I'll run to Taco Bell and grab something. Do you want something? Like, man, you don't have time for that. I was like, guys, if you'll just shut up and give me an order, I can walk there in 5 minutes. And I did, I ordered on my app and just so it's just kind of a cool vibe. I think about, if you haven't seen the basketball facility in Lufkin, my goodness. It is fantastic. But going to Texas High for a baseball game, there's kind of a really cool backdrop. They got the old dirt and grass field that's really pretty. There's just so many, and not just new state of the art. There are some of that, but just sort of the ambiance of them is just a really, really neat vibe. Even going down to some of the smaller schools. I know, Tristan, you can vouch for what the atmosphere is like at Elysian Fields at some of their games. It's really incredible. Jefferson's got that kind of vibe. You go talk to Ty Taylor. They've got a tailgate party before every home game. So just kind of a lot of these places you go to in East Texas, you can actually feel the experience. And I think that's cool.
Well, I'll close it out with what, as a 56-year-old native of East Texas, specifically Harrison County, who got to cover it for a few years as well. And I agree with Tristan. It's really the people at all levels, the administrators, the coaches, the players, the parents, the families, the fans, all of it makes it what it is. And I kind of miss that. I kind of miss that part of what that experience was like for me growing up in it, in Marshall. But there are some, if you just go back and you think about it, really all the communities that we find ourselves in, and you, Tristan, can kind of relate to this probably a little bit more right now. Every one of them has a neat little story, either going on right now or something that happened in their history or someone that came through there, And I just think, just off the top of my head, talking about folks from Marshall, a lot of folks won't know this. if you're just sitting here listening right now, Odell Beckham Jr. wasn't here in Marshall, but his father was.
Yeah.
Beckham Sr., right? He was the original it guy. And Marshall, of course, Y.E. Tittle. We have roots with Earl Campbell from Tyler, Bobby Taylor from Longview. I mean, I can just rattle them off. Folks, y'all don't know, Tristan, this is probably before your time, but you may have heard this name, Keogh Craver in Harleton, right? I remember watching that kid play and thinking, that's an East Texas legend right there at the smaller schools. And you know, you got Wascom State Championship runs, and my gosh, we can talk about Carthage on a full podcast of what they've been able to do.
Yeah.
Scott Brett, who, by the way, is an East Texas native, right? So just the stories, and I feel blessed to be able to be sitting here at this stage in my life and be able to look back over the history and say, man, it's been fun to be here. This is, I'm sure there's other places around the country that would stand up and say we can compete with that, but man, I don't really know. We're at the front of the class if there is a classroom there, right?
Yeah,
Agree.
no doubt about that.
And I'll believe that till my dying day. I mean, you know, go argue with the wall if you want to argue that. But I say East Texas is the best in terms of what we offer from our local sports perspective. So Tristan, I know you got to run, man. Thanks for hopping on here. We'll have you back. But man, I appreciate everything and good luck to you, brother, as you go hit the roads.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank y'all again. And I know that we talked about it a little bit, but I would love to come back on either weekly or bi-weekly, especially, you know, during the off season, and catch up about football. I know that we got a lot to look forward to with football around our area during the summer. So hopefully I can come back on and talk with y'all.
We'll have you back on, and for sure. And just keep your line open so we can give you about 15, 20 minutes maybe.
Yes, sir. That works. That works with me. Y'all have a good. Thank y'all again.
See you, buddy.
Thank you, Tristan. Appreciate you. Okay, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun.